Hi, and welcome to the 18th edition of the Warsaw Jewish Film Festival. I am Lihi Nagler. I am the head of the selection committee, and it's a great pleasure to have here today filmmaker Keren Ben Rafael, the director of the film The End of Love. Hi, Keren.
Hi, really happy to be here.
Thank you. We are very happy to have you with us, and we have a special reason. Your film just won the KAMERA of DAWIDA Award for the best feature film at our festival. And not only that, the film also won the best director, the best script, the best actors, and the best cinematography. So first of all, huge congratulations. And I just want to quote something from our jury. They wrote about the film, languages, places, technology, intimacy, love, sex, and relationships, modernity in its chaotic form, all nicely intertwined and professionally shaped in an excellent narrative and a successful script. This is The End of Love. And I wanted to start by asking you, your film is about a long-distance relationship in the age of virtual communication. Can you tell us a bit how you came to the idea to make your film?
Yes, of course. So I am married to a French guy, which is, by the way, the cinematographer of the film. And I am Israeli. And we have this relationship that a lot of times we are in different countries. And when we had our first baby, we had this period where I was actually stuck in France for bureaucracy reasons, and he was in Israel. So we were upside down. And in this period, our baby was a few months old, and we used to communicate more than ever on video calls because I wanted to show the baby, he wanted to see her and everything. And I start feeling like this strange feeling that you have when you, after you have a video call, that you feel very close to someone. And then when you cut it and suddenly you feel how alone you are. And this first impression made me start to think and to have some of the first idea for this film, which later on, a few years later, after I did my first feature film, was, we started to work on it when we understood that it speaks about many couples today, that it's much broader, and that this idea of communicating through video calls or through all these technical ways that we communicate today is really a way to speak about couples in this era,
Mm-hmm. I think it's very interesting what you're saying, because I wanted to ask you, to my opinion, there was a feeling that you succeeded very much in depicting in this relationship two different issues. And one is the difference in mentalities between the Israeli and the French. And of course, I am sure you know a lot about that. And the second thing I had a feeling, and this is why it is so interesting that you say that in your private life, it is upside down the story, because I had really the feeling that there is a heavy gender story here. And I was asking myself, what would have happened if Julie would move to Israel with Yuval and would find it difficult, and then she would leave him with a baby, and we'll go back to Paris to take care of her visa, and would decide to stay there. So how do you see this option? And maybe you can tell us something about the mentalities.
It's funny because when we were writing, we did think a little bit about the other option, making it other way around, where the woman will be left, the man will be left with the baby and the woman will be like living her life. And I think it is something that I might explore in another film, because it is something that I do think that is that can happen today much more. But what would happen, I do think it still is different. even though I think from my point of view that today many women can um, already live more freely, you know, and leave the child with the husband and everything, it's still different. And this I also see in my personal life. Both of us travel a lot for work and for other stuff. And we both live behind with the other person, the children, you know. Still, I do see a difference, even though it's very, there is an equality between both of us. I do still see a difference that I still think that as a mother, you have more on your shoulders. In a way, even when I leave, I don't cut. I never can cut, you know. It's like I'm still going to be on the WhatsApp with the parents that asking, where can the child go today, to which friend, even though I'm in another country. Whereas my husband, that is really completely half-half in taking care of the children, still he can cut. Mm-hmm. Which I guess mother today, even today, you can't. It's. I think it's impossible. Maybe it's not something that we want to do. Also, you know, I accept the differences between male and the woman, and yeah, you know, it's normal that we have different ways of dealing, you know, with career, with children, and this is of course a very big subject in the film as well. You know, you see how she's trying to deal with her career and with the fact that he's not there, and with the fact that she's alone with the baby and the baby is sick and all this. And the film speaks a lot about this, you know.
Can you tell us a bit how you worked with the actors? One of them here, the other one is there. How did you build their relationship? Did they have to meet a lot or hardly?
So the funny thing is that it started through a video call because she's French. She was in Paris. I was here in Tel Aviv, and Aryeh lives actually in Belgium. He plays the role of an Israeli guy, but he's Belgian, and he speaks Hebrew fluently. Yes. And the first time that we met, all the three of us, was through a video call, and I did some kind of a test, you know, to see if they work well together. I took off my video and I left them alone, and I was watching them. And it was very interesting to see, because I think each one of them was in their own intimacy. She was, you know, in her kitchen, he was in his living room. So immediately they enter inside this intimacy, one of the other, and the scene was really great, you know, for the first time they tried it. And then a few weeks or months later, when we met for the first time face to face, we understood very rapidly that without the video call, something doesn't work. When we try to do rehearsal just face to face, something was missing. It didn't, you know, the magic was not there. So we put them in two different rooms, and just, you know, for the rehearsal, we take some phones or computers, and they do a real Skype, and then it works, you know. And though in the shooting, we were asking ourselves how to manage to have them the most possible scenes playing together. Mm-hmm. You know, so what we did is that we have arranged one of the room in the small French apartment became the Israeli room of Yuval. Oh. So it was in the same space. We had maybe 3 or 4 shooting days that we were shooting like that. And we had 2 cameras, and each one of them had a small earplug that they can hear the other, and the small screen so they can communicate. So in these days, it was like we imitate a video call. Mm-hmm. Which facilitates so that they can really kind of communicate together and to have this relationship more, to feel more like real, you know. It was simultaneously. And I think also what really interesting for the actors is that because it's a shooting that is very unique, the way that we shot, it is like we were shooting only one shots, you know, because the camera is always in the point of view of a computer or of a phone. So it's a one shot, you know, whereas in a normal film, you have many shots for the same scene. And what is great in this sense for the actors, when you have a one shot, is that they can play without being interrupted. So something of this feeling of real, you know, of veracity is there. And this was great. Later on, after we did these shootings that were simultaneous, later on we had to find other ways of shooting. We could not do the whole film like that. And, you know, we had a few shooting days in Israel and other things. So the other scene we shoot either with a playback that we prepare before, yes, or sometimes with nothing. Sometimes I really decide before the shooting, of course, I decide which scene needs playback, which scene needs nothing, which scene, you know, like what do we need in each scene. And yeah, they got used to it, the actors, they really play with it. And it's true that it's a strange, very strange way, but I think it was very, you know, playful for all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely, it sounds a very interesting way of making a film. And I wanted to ask you something more about this idea of the cameras that are always there. So there is this feeling in your film that those surveillance cameras, they reveal many times too much of the other person's life. And it is some kind of a technological peeping Tom that exposes moments that are usually very private. For instance, I think that if Julie would be in Israel together with Yuval and would go to his family, they would not behave the way that they behaved when she is there only with the camera. Or when Julie is celebrating the birthday and she is totally upset with her mother, and I am not sure if she would have behaved like that if Yuval would really be there and it would not be only on the screen. So do you think that the camera helps to reveal or to act out things that we would not expose in real life?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think the fact that it is a camera and not real connection, on one hand, you forget sometimes. For a moment, you can forget because the person is not really there. And so you can show things that you will not show otherwise. And on the other hand, without connection to the camera, the fact that the person is not there in real means that, you know, they cannot just like hug each other for a moment and maybe, you know, like rethink the situation and calm each other down. As you're saying, like in the birthday, if Yuval was there, I imagine that Yuval can, like, you know, calm down the situation, maybe, you know, laugh a little bit with the mother, maybe calm down Julie, something that other people that are not that close cannot really do.
Yes.
And it's true that on the other hand, also when you know, the family in Israel trying to suggest what to do with the baby, so that you know, even me as the sister of Yuval in the film, this is, if they were there in person, all these suggestion will be less, in a way, appropriate, because you have the baby there crying. You will just try to take the baby and help physically, and it will be more logic as well. Because this scene of the baby, it's, for me, it's one of the it's one of like the almost funny moments of this situation, where you're like, hey, you know, you're like 5 people giving advices to one woman that is alone with the baby, and she just wants you to shut up, you know. So yeah, it's absurd almost, you know. I mean, if you're so far, you're so far, you can't expect to help, not that way, you know.
Yes, in a way, I had a feeling in the film that this cold mechanism of the camera exposed too much of the other person that usually maybe you would have not seen in a normal life of a couple, that suddenly from the side you look at your partner and the relationship with his or her family, parents, and oops, you saw something that you did not know before when you were living together. And I think this is extremely interesting. And I wanted to ask you also about the ending of the film. So I had a very ambivalent feeling towards the end. And I will tell you why. Because on the one hand, I was thinking to myself, okay, so this is the story about meeting in a vacation as a tourist. And it happens to many people that they meet in a different culture. They fall in love and the background is a romantic vacation on the beach versus real life. And this was the pessimistic view. And the optimistic view was thinking that maybe it's the future even, that they will succeed to maintain their relationship. And I wanted to hear you, what did you think about the end?
It's actually for me kind of a mix of these two. I think I wanted the ending to be, I wanted the, the viewer to ask himself, where is this going? And as I can see also with the reactions of people to the film, each one will take it to another place. And this is what we wanted. We wanted it to be quite open. But it was really important, first of all, to show like a real scene in the end of the film, to break this system of the video calls and to enter in the real world or into the real cinematic experience of having, a scene that is cut out like in cinema, having suddenly colors more rich and, the sun and all this. And and also music, by the way, that you don't have in the film except in this moment. This is, of course, the only moment that you see them together in the same frame. So all this was really important for me, and I wanted it to be alive. We wanted it to go, and this is the thing. It is a flashback. It is a flashback, and most of the people get that it's a flashback. But I think because it's, like a moment of happiness, you can feel that it says something about the future as well. And this was really important, not to end the film on a note of like, okay, she closes the conversation after this feeling of, of ending,
Right.
but to give you the possibility that it can go elsewhere. And for me, I have the feeling, it's funny because we were speaking about this a lot with the co-writer, and we didn't have the same way of seeing it. She was always pessimistic, like it's the end. And I don't know if it's optimistic, but anyway, for me, relationship have a tendency to be able to rebuild themselves again and again and again. And you have the feeling that you arrive to a point of, no more. And then, okay, let's start again. So I am more of this kind of, I believe in this. I believe that, I don't know if it's so optimistic or not, but I do believe that a couple, especially when there is a baby already involved, can really, be in situation very complex, very hard, and even violent, and all this, and still can go back and to something that can be nice and beautiful. It doesn't mean that, of course, something will stay, but you can reconstruct and find yourself again. This is my feeling. And another thing is that the title of the film is very related to this ending, of course. And it's funny because in France, the film hit the cinemas in September. We were very lucky to be in the cinemas before the lockdown. In France, the title of the film was different. The original title is The End of Love. And in France, the distributor wanted a title that is in French, and they wanted a title that is more optimistic. So it was called A Cœur Battant, which means like beating heart. Um, and it's very funny the difference between these two titles, because you read the film differently, knowing from the beginning that it's going to end or not. Um, and also, I think in English, The End of Love, for me, there is also the song of Leonard Cohen that is in my head,
Yes.
and that maybe colors this title in a bit more romantic way than like if I would just translate it to French, it will not have this flavor, you know.
I wanted to ask you about something that probably many people asked you during those months. So, of course, you made the film before the Corona,
Yeah.
but now all of us communicate through screens, and we conduct our relationships with our families, especially if we have families abroad like that. Did you get any reactions regarding the film in the light of this pandemic, or?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, yes, yes. I mean, we really felt, because the film was supposed to hit cinemas in France in April. And then, of course, it was canceled. And we really felt, because we already had some reactions before, how much like the audience react so much better to the film after. It was amazing. I think it's a film that got, you know, one of the only things that got something good from this period, because people seem to understand so much better the film. And I think one of the beautiful things someone wrote to me about it was he had the feeling that we succeeded in like making everyone's Skype experience, putting it in an aesthetical way, you know, like putting it like, because of course it's not so beautiful really when you Skype. And this was one of our goals with also with the cinematographer. It was, you know, how to kind of like elevate Skype, still that you had the feeling that you are in something that is in the point of view of you know, of a computer or of a phone, but to elevate it and not to make it like technically bad, or not to have these out of focus moments or sound problems or all this, but on the contrary, to make this, you know, as cinematic as possible.
Mhm.
Yeah. So of course, yes. I mean, people really reacted. You know, well, everyone asked us, of course, how did we know? Did we know that it's going to be like this? No. But I think, yeah, like for people, it felt like, you know, it's interesting because I think it is more towards the elders, because the young people, they already knew this kind of relationship. But after, in these few months that passed, now it's a lot of, you know, older people that don't usually video call. Now they do it more. And I think for these people also, it's like, it was really touching, you know, to see this, and they understood the film much more, I think.
Yes, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Keren, I would like to thank you so much for an interesting conversation and for your wonderful film. And you are more than welcome to come to Warsaw when it is possible, to the film festival with your new film.
Thanks a lot. And really thanks a lot for the jury, for all these prizes. We were overwhelmed and really happy. All the team.
Great. It's good to hear, and all the best. Bye for now. Bye.
Thank you.